chipped formica of the desk in the break room is what sticks with me. Oddly enough, I can still see the little swirl pattern and the way the overhead fluorescent light reflected off a coffee stain near the corner. It was late, after everyone else had gone home. I was a junior data analyst then and always volunteered for the overnight reports to impress my supervisor. That particular week, I'd been staying late every night trying to fix a mess someone else had made, and the garage was always nearly empty when I left. The report was almost done. Just needed to run a final validation, cross-reference with the third quarter numbers. I stretched, cracking my back. Late nights in that break room always did a number on me. The smell was still there, though. That metallic tang. It wasn't strong. You'd barely notice unless you were really paying attention. I sniffed the air again, trying to pinpoint it. Maybe it was coming from the microwave. Someone reheated something strange. I went to check, just to be sure. The microwave was cold and clean inside. Odd. I opened the little cabinet under the coffee machine, figuring maybe someone spilled something while making a late-night brew. Clean. I even checked the trash can, mostly paper towels and coffee filters. Nothing. It was just in the air. Then I saw him, Ruben, from accounting, I think. He shuffled past the break room door, heading towards the elevators. I'd seen him around. He was always quiet, always wearing that same navy blue jacket. He never really looked at anyone, just registered their presence, I guess. He paused for a second and glanced in. Not at me exactly, just towards the desk. He didn't say anything, just continued walking. It was weird, but probably nothing. He probably just needed to get to the parking garage. I figured he must have smelled it too. Maybe that's why he looked. Maybe there was a leak somewhere in the building, some kind of electrical thing that would explain the metal smell. I went back to my report, but I kept glancing at the doorway, just in case. It was unsettling. He hadn't even seemed to see me. I started taking the stairs. Just a lot. The elevator always felt wrong after that night, too enclosed, and I kept seeing him. Not in the elevator, but near the doors on different floors waiting. It wasn't every day, but enough. Enough to make my stomach clench whenever I even thought about going near it. I tried to be casual about it, like if I saw him on the stairs, I'd just nod, maybe a quick morning. He always nodded back, same as before. No expression. It was the lack of expression that got to me. Like he wasn't registering me as a person, just an object in his field of vision. Then came the coffee. I always got a black coffee from the machine near accounting, always. One morning it was gone, empty, and sitting right next to it a small travel mug, black, empty. It wasn't there yesterday. I figured someone else started drinking black coffee, thought nothing of it. But then I noticed the little things. My usual parking spot, the one near the entrance, always empty when I arrived. I'd started coming in a little later, trying to avoid him, and it was empty every time, and my desk. Someone had moved a stack of files just slightly, so they were blocking the view of the hallway. Just enough to make it harder to see who was walking by. It felt orchestrated. Like someone was subtly rearranging my world. I started thinking maybe it was Yuri, from IT. He'd been acting weird lately, constantly asking about my projects, and he knew my schedule. He'd complained about someone messing with his code. Maybe he was retaliating? It seemed logical. It had to be. It couldn't be Ruben. It just couldn't. He was nothing. Just a quiet guy from accounting. I called in sick. Just couldn't. The thought of that building, of walking past the elevators, the break room, it was like a tightening in my chest. I told them I had a migraine. A pathetic excuse, but it was all I could manage. I spent the morning rearranging things in my apartment, trying to feel contained. Like if I controlled my space, I could control everything. Then my phone buzzed. A picture message. It was my desk, empty except for a single perfect apple. Red and shiny, I stared at it. It wasn't a threatening picture, not exactly. It was pointed, like a display. I called Cleo, frantic. Did you see anyone at my desk? No, honey. Why? Is everything okay? Just a weird picture. An apple. On my desk. Maybe Yuri's messing with you again? The IT guy? He always seemed a little off. I almost said it was Ruben, But the thought felt absurd. It had to be Yuri. He had access. He had motive. It made sense. He was escalating, trying to scare me. Logically, it made the most sense. I went to the building's security office and showed them the picture. Fran, the guard, was sympathetic, but dismissive. Probably just a coworker playing a prank, dear. We get it all the time, she promised to keep an eye out. That afternoon, I decided I needed to get my emergency bag from my locker. Just a quick in and out. I practically sprinted through the lobby, took the stairs, avoiding the elevators, and grabbed the bag. As I turned to leave, I saw him, Ruben, standing by the water fountain, just watching. He didn't smile, didn't acknowledge me. He just stood there, holding a paper cup. And for a split second, I thought I saw something metallic glint in his hand. It was probably just the light. Probably. But I didn't wait to find out. I ran. I called the police, of course. After I'd calmed down enough to stop shaking, and after Una had talked me into it, she kept saying, "You need to document this, Lena. You need a record." It felt dramatic, like something out of a movie. But Una was right, I guess. The officer who came was young. He took my statement and asked a lot of questions about Ruben. Did he threaten me directly? No. Had he touched me? No. Just watching. It felt ridiculous trying to explain the feeling of being watched. He asked about the apple. I told him about finding the picture on my desk. He typed it all into his little device, looking increasingly bored. He went to talk to security, came back, and said the footage showed Ruben entering and leaving the building normally. Nothing suspicious. He asked if I had any personal conflicts with Ruben. I mentioned the disagreement about the quarterly report. The officer actually smirked. "Sounds like a workplace issue, ma'am. Maybe a little passive-aggressive behavior?" I felt my face getting hot. He made it sound like I was overreacting. He said they'd increase patrols, but honestly, it felt like he just wanted me to go away. I kept thinking about that glint of metal, though. It had to be something. Maybe he wasn't just annoyed about the report. Maybe he was unstable. After they left, I did some digging. I found an article online, a small local news piece about a break-in at a jewelry store a few blocks from the office. They hadn't caught the guy. The description was vague, but the security footage still image. It was blurry, but the build, the way he stood, it looked like Ruben. Maybe this wasn't about me at all. Maybe I just happened to be in the periphery of something else, something dangerous, that felt better, less personal. It's funny, the things you replay, not the scary parts. Exactly, more the mundane stuff surrounding it. Like the way Dawn kept offering me herbal tea after it started. She was always a bit much, but it felt deliberate then, like she knew I wasn't sleeping. She'd say, "Chamomile is good for nerves, Una." Now I wonder if she knew more than she let on. If she was trying to what? Keep me calm, or just watch me unravel. I changed my routine completely. I took the long way around the parking garage, and I always checked my rearview mirror 12 times. I even started driving to work, even though the train was faster. It felt ridiculous, paranoid. But it was Derek who finally made me understand it wasn't just paranoia. He told me, very quietly, that he'd seen someone, not Ruben, someone else, lingering near my desk a lot in the weeks before the report. Someone who worked in facilities. A quiet guy. He didn't even know his name. I remembered him. Vaguely, always blending into the background, always there. I had filed so many maintenance requests, he could have been in my space 100 times. He had access to everything. I started to think Ruben was a distraction, a red herring that this other guy, this invisible man, was the one who'd taken the picture, the one who'd been watching. I never saw him confronted, never saw him questioned. The police, after the jewelry store incident fizzled, just stopped calling. It felt like they were glad to be done with it. I moved departments 6 months later. Now, I still take the long way around parking garages, and I still can't bring myself to leave my office door open, even for a second. I walk past the facilities guys sometimes, in the hallway. Just ordinary-looking men, and I always wonder if one of them knows I know. If one of them remembers seeing me. If one of them ever understood why he was there. I was at the grocery store last week reaching for a jar of olives, and a hand brushed mine. Just a brief, accidental touch, It was an older man, looking at the same jar. He didn't meet my eyes. He just moved on, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was the same hand. Was it? I've spent a long time trying to understand what happened, and honestly, I still don't. It wasn't a single event, more a slow unraveling of something off. I parked in the same garage nearly every weekday for months, and it was usually unremarkable. There was one person who worked there, though, someone I'd see regularly, and our interactions started to feel strange in retrospect. It's just a story about a parking garage, really, but it stuck with me. The chipped tile was near my space. It was always there, I guess, just I hadn't noticed it before. It's a pale blue, and the rest are a sort of beige. Not a big deal, really. Probably just a repair, a bad match, though. The garage is pretty well maintained. Old, sure, but clean. Ivan, the attendant, keeps it spotless. He's always there, always reading. He never looks up, doesn't really see you, just takes the ticket and makes change. I mentioned it to Willa, actually. Funny thing, I said. There's a blue tile in the garage. It looks out of place. She just shrugged. Construction, probably? And that was that. I hadn't thought about it again, not until yesterday. Yesterday, I realized the chip tile was directly in my line of sight when I'm backing out. Every single day. It wasn't random, it was positioned. It struck me as odd, but then I remembered the new security cameras. They'd been installing them last week. Maybe it was done to be visible to the cameras, to make sure people were backing out carefully. It made sense. But then this morning Ivan looked up. He actually looked at me. Not at my ticket, not at my car, at me. He said, "Careful backing out today, Denise. That tile can be a bit distracting." Distracting? He used that word. How would he know I even noticed the tile? It's not like I'd said anything to him, and the way he said it, not friendly, not even neutral, more like informing me. It felt less like a warning and more like a statement, like he was letting me know he was paying attention. I took my ticket, drove out quickly, and I haven't stopped feeling watched since. I started taking the stairs. 3 flights down. It added 10 minutes to the commute, but the garage I just couldn't. Not after Tuesday. I'd convinced myself it was just my imagination, the stress from work, but then I found the pen. It was a cheap ballpoint, the kind you get free from a bank with blue ink, lying on the passenger seat. I never leave anything on the seat, always in the console or the door pocket. I distinctly remember having nothing in my hands when I locked the car Monday night. Nothing. It was the same color as the one Ivan from accounting always uses. He's always fiddling with one. I almost said something to him, asked if he dropped it, but then I remembered where I'd parked. I started really looking at the space, not just at the tile, but everything. The concrete supports, the spray-painted numbers, the faint oil stains, and that's when I saw it. A scratch, almost invisible, on the support beam right next to my spot, a small, deliberate-looking scratch, like someone had been marking it. Measuring something, maybe? It wasn't there last week. I would have noticed. I park in the same spot every single day. It had to be new. It made me think about the tile again. Maybe it wasn't about me specifically. Maybe someone was surveying the entire garage, planning something. Structural issues, I thought. That had to be it. A building inspector maybe who used this space as a reference point. Then, yesterday, I saw him. The attendant, Bet, wasn't in her booth. She was leaning against my car, just standing there, looking at it. She straightened up when she saw me, gave me that same flat look, and went back inside without a word. It wasn't a casual glance, it was assessment, like she was checking something, and that pen, it's still bothering me. It's just the timing. Everything. I started taking the late train a few weeks ago, right? To avoid traffic. And Bet, she always has my space ready. Always. Even when I think someone else could have taken it, it felt convenient. I was grateful. Stupid, I know. Today, I got to the garage and the lights were flickering on level B2, near my spot. Not all of them, just a few. Annoying, but you know how old buildings are. Then I noticed the scent. Not exhaust, not cleaning fluid. Something sweet, like overripe fruit. It was faint, but it clung to the air, and it was quiet. Usually there's the hum of the ventilation, but it was muffled, like something was blocking it. I pulled into the space, and that's when I saw it, a small dark stain on the chipped tile, fresh. It wasn't there yesterday, it looked metallic. I touched it with my fingertip, then immediately regretted it. It was sticky. Then a sound, a scraping from inside the wall, right beside my driver's side door, like something was dragging against concrete. I froze. It stopped almost immediately. I told myself it was probably just settling, the building shifting. Old buildings do that, but the smell, it was stronger now. I threw the car into drive and backed out fast. I didn't even bother with the ticket machine, I just wanted out. As I hit the ramp, I glanced in my rearview mirror. Bet was standing in the booth watching me. Not her usual flat look. This was intense, and she was holding something. A long silver tool, like a pry bar. Maybe she was fixing the lights, but the way she was holding it... I drove straight home. I'm calling Ivan tomorrow. He works in building maintenance. Maybe he can check out the wall? I told Bet about it. She's always been good with this kind of stuff, practical, not easily spooked. I explained about the attendant, the scraping, the spot always being open, and the stain. I even mentioned the pry bar, trying to sound not frantic, just concerned. She listened while sipping her tea, and then she actually laughed. Honey, he's probably just a lonely guy, trying to be helpful. You always park in the same place, he remembers. The scraping? Probably just rats. Old buildings, you know. Rats. It sounded reasonable. It should have sounded reasonable. But the smell, that sickly sweet smell, wasn't rats. I tried to explain that, but she waved it off. Old cleaning fluid, maybe? Or something from the bakery down the street. Then she asked if I'd spoken to building security. I hadn't. I hadn't even thought about security. I just avoided the attendant. Bet called them for me right then and there. A man named Vince came to meet me at the garage the next evening. He was dismissive. He said they get complaints about the lighting all the time and promised to have someone look at it. He walked me to my usual spot and pointed out a vent cover that was slightly askew. Rats get in through there, sometimes. He didn't even glance at the stain. And then, as we were leaving, I saw the attendant. He was watching us. Not subtly either, just staring, and he was wiping down the control panel with a cloth that smelled faintly of vanilla, that sweet, cloying smell. Vince didn't notice. He was already talking about overtime and budget cuts. But I saw it. I know I saw it. He was cleaning away something, and it wasn't dust. It's funny, the things you start to notice, or maybe it's not funny. It's just what happens. After the vanilla smell, I started paying attention to the details of the garage itself. Not the cars, but the structure. The way the concrete was patched in places, the scuff marks on the walls. I realized there was a small alcove, almost hidden behind the support pillar closest to where I always parked. I'd never seen anyone in it, but things were arranged there. Small things, a folded newspaper, a plastic water bottle. Once, a single orange. I mentioned it to Bet. She said I was imagining things, that garages are just naturally messy. But it wasn't messy, it was intentional. Like someone was using it as a little staging area. I started thinking maybe it was the attendant. Maybe he had a little side hustle, selling something out of his car during his breaks. It felt less terrifying that way, more pathetic, really. I began adjusting my route, parking a few spaces further down, just to see if he'd notice. He always did, always. He'd make eye contact, a quick nod, then go back to polishing that control panel. He didn't seem angry, just aware, and that awareness felt like a weight. Now, everywhere I go, I check the locks. Not just the main door lock, but the deadbolt, the window latches. I check them twice, even in hotels, even if I'm only staying one night. I run my hand along the frame, feeling for any gap, any sign that someone might have been there. Before me, it's stupid, I know, but I still do it every time. I have to. And I still wonder how long he'd been watching, how long before I even noticed. It was the kind of place most people just pass through, really. A concrete box tucked under the residential building, mostly for the people who lived there and the occasional visitor who didn't want to pay for outside parking. I needed the convenience after long shifts, and honestly didn't think much about it beyond that. It smelled faintly of oil and dampness, and the fluorescent lights always seemed to flicker a little too much. I used it every day for nearly a year. The automatic door groaned open as usual. That same tired hydraulic whine. Tuesday, trash night. I always took the bins down after dinner, figured it was better than letting them sit and stink. Level B2, spot 27, always. It's just easier. I swung into the space, and that's when I saw it. Another one, a little wooden bird, painted bright blue, chipped around the wings, exactly like the one my grandmother used to keep on her windowsill. I mean exactly. I stopped the car, put it in park. It was sitting right on my hood, nestled against the windshield wiper. The first one, the little ceramic frog, I'd thought maybe a kid from the building playing a prank. Cute, annoying, whatever, but a bluebird? My grandmother passed away 5 years ago. No one even knows I remember those birds. I got out, scooped it up. It felt cold. Not temperature cold, just empty. I glanced around. The garage was mostly empty, a couple of cars further down, but no one close, just that damp concrete smell and the flickering fluorescent lights. I checked my rearview mirror. Nothing. Probably just some weird coincidence. People have similar taste, right? Someone else's grandmother had the same birds. It was a common decoration. I tossed the bird in the passenger seat, figuring I'd just put it in the glove compartment. Keep it with the registration. But then I noticed it. The light above my parking spot, it wasn't flickering. It hadn't been flickering for the last 7 days. It always flickered. It was the one light in the whole garage that hadn't been replaced, and now suddenly it was just steady. I stared at it for a good minute, then quickly got back in the car and backed out. I needed to get the trash out and get back inside. I started taking the stairs. 4 flights. It was a pain, especially with groceries, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Every time I drove down there, I just felt watched. It wasn't like someone was in the garage. Not exactly. It was more like the garage itself was paying attention, and the car. That silver Corolla. Always in the same spot, always clean. I'd started varying my arrival time, trying to miss her or him. I still hadn't gotten a good look. Just a shadow, a silhouette behind the wheel. But it was always there, and the little things kept happening. Not the frog or the bird. Those stopped. It was subtler, like my key fob suddenly stopped working half the time, and the gate would take an extra beat to open. Annoying, but not a big deal, right? Except it only happened when I was coming home late. Then yesterday, I saw another Corolla. Identical. Same silver, same dent on the rear bumper, parked 2 levels up, near the service entrance. I just froze. It wasn't her. I'd have remembered seeing that dent before, but it was the same car, and it made me think maybe someone was messing with me. Some kind of prank. A really elaborate, unsettling prank. I'd started to check my rearview mirror constantly, even when I wasn't driving. And this morning, when I went down to get my mail, there was a small stack of flyers tucked under my windshield wiper. Just junk mail, mostly coupons, but on top, a single folded piece of paper, blank, completely blank. No return address, no writing. I crumpled it up and threw it away, but I still feel like someone's watching me crumple it. The blank paper, it messed with my head. I kept replaying the walk to my car, scanning the garage. Nothing. No one. Just the damp smell and the buzzing lights. I started taking the stairs again, even with the groceries. It felt safer somehow, less exposed, and I started parking on the 3rd level, furthest from the entrance, hoping to avoid whatever was happening. That's when I noticed the Corolla wasn't just a Corolla anymore. It was my Corolla. Same silver, same dent above the rear tire, even the stupid little Save the Planet sticker I'd gotten for free with my registration. Parked in the same spot, always. I almost called the police. But what would I even say? There's a car that looks exactly like mine, and it's creeping me out. Then the key card started glitching. Not refusing access, but taking longer, flashing red before finally letting me in. And yesterday, the elevator stopped between floors. just for a few seconds, but long enough to feel trapped. It felt deliberate, like someone was testing something. This morning, I woke up with a start. Not a sound, just a feeling. I grabbed my keys, practically ran to the garage, and it was gone. My car vanished. In its place, the other Corolla. And standing beside it, Agnes from accounting. She was wiping down the windshield. "Oh, Samet," she said, not looking up. "Terrible luck, isn't it? Someone keyed your car last night. I didn't even look at the damage. I just backed out, nearly hitting the concrete pillar. I drove straight to the police station. They took a report and said they'd look into it. But I knew it wasn't random. It was her. She'd been watching me, waiting for the right moment. I thought it was about the flyers, the figurines, some kind of weird personal vendetta. I really did." But as I pulled back into the apartment complex, I saw it. A tow truck, pulling my car out of a hidden service entrance, the one only maintenance is supposed to use. And Agnes was standing there, talking to the driver, pointing. The police were not helpful. They took my statement and asked a lot of questions about enemies, disgruntled exes, anything like that. I told them about Agnes and about seeing my car pulled from that restricted area. They checked her out and came back saying she had a clean record, works in accounting, volunteered at a local animal shelter, the whole 9 yards. It seemed too perfect, like they hadn't even tried to dig. I ended up taking 1 week off work. I called in sick and said I had the flu. I couldn't face Agnes. I couldn't face anyone. I started parking a few blocks away, using public street parking just to be sure. It felt ridiculous walking that distance, constantly checking my rearview mirror. But the garage felt wrong, like a waiting room. Then I got the call from Nim in facilities at the complex. He said there had been a structural issue uncovered during a routine inspection. Apparently, the whole section of the garage, the one with my old parking spot, was built over an abandoned subway tunnel. It was unmapped, undocumented, just there. They were shutting it down for a full assessment. That's when it clicked. It wasn't about me, not personally. It was about the location. Something they needed to hide, something under the garage. They were using me and my car as a distraction, a way to flush out whatever was going on down there. Maybe it was a smuggling operation, a hidden lab, I don't know, something big. I went back to the garage yesterday just to look. The whole section was sealed off, taped with yellow caution tape, and there in my old spot was her car. It was identical, same make, same model, even the same faded blue color. And she was inside, just sitting there looking straight ahead. She didn't see me. I didn't stay to find out if she would. I just walked away, and then I remembered the note, the blank one. It wasn't a threat, it was a warning. It's been a while. I haven't thought about the garage much lately, not consciously. It's funny the things your brain does, files away. I tried to go back to normal. Really, I did. I got a new parking spot further away, near the elevators on level A. It felt safer. For a couple of months, nothing happened. Then I started noticing little things. Not the car, not her. Just changes. The lighting in the garage flickered more often. The security cameras seemed to be repositioned, angled differently, and the music. They always played that awful instrumental jazz, but it started skipping, repeating snippets like a broken record. I started taking the stairs. Always the stairs. I told myself it was for the exercise. That's what I told Samit. Anyway, he kept asking if I was okay, if someone was bothering me. He thought it was some weird workplace thing, Edna from accounting having a crush or something. I let him think that. It was easier. Then one day, I saw Willa, one of the building managers, talking to a man in a dark suit near my old spot. They were pointing and gesturing at the concrete pillars. It wasn't a casual conversation. It was deliberate. I overheard snippets, access points, maintenance schedule, something about rerouting ventilation. I convinced myself they were just doing repairs, upgrading the system. That's what I needed to believe. After a while, I started avoiding the garage altogether, getting dropped off at the front entrance. It felt ridiculous, like I was being paranoid, but the feeling wouldn't go away. I still can't just pull into a parking garage. any parking garage. I always circle a few times, checking the spaces, making sure there isn't another car that looks too familiar. It's just a habit now, a stupid, exhausting habit.